Appreciate everyone being here. If I didn't say at the beginning, my name is Richard Wilson, and I started the Investor Club 18 years ago. So we've done about 300 live events during that time, put out 13 books. We've got about 1,200 videos on our YouTube channel and 1,000 episodes on our podcast. And we have about 17 million social media group members and followers. So we get a lot of our deal flow and insights from that. So we're going to go through a foundational section of the day on mental models real quick. That part will be fast. And then we're going to talk about artificial intelligence tools and then have someone who works at a $1 billion plus family office come up and talk about investing into early stage companies. Throughout the whole day, I hope with all the guest speakers, if we have someone speak and they're here from the healthcare industry, there's still insights you could take from that, even if you work in real estate development, right? How to pitch the deals, how to structure a deal, how to develop relationships, how to negotiate things, how to scale. So look at it through that lens, and you'll get more out of today. A lot of people come to an investor club, obviously, to connect with investors or opportunities, right? It's pretty obvious. So Capital Network is one of the benefits of being part of the Family Office Club. But a lot of what people don't expect, but it's the reason they stay, is we have a real sense of community in the room. You see familiar faces over time, makes it easier to do business. And we're also adding in some things where you may have came for the steak or the ice cream, but the broccoli and the other healthy things are scaling strategies, the artificial intelligence tools, peak performance, being ultra healthy, not just focusing on being ultra wealthy. And then upgraded investment structures and powerful positioning are completely overlooked by a lot of people in the space. Even centimillionaires we meet have no idea how to custom structure a deal, and it holds them back and they lose money because of it. So those are some things that really help the club become more healthy over time and have been working well for us. There we go. So we have a mobile app. A lot of people don't know that. They just come to the live events, but we have 1,200 videos of me interviewing the founder of Keller Williams Realty, interviewing centimillionaires, decamillionaires, saying how they sold their business. And you can just stream it just like you would Netflix when you're at the airport, standing at the TSA line, walking the dog, exercising on the treadmill, Ubers, whatever, right? So make sure and use that. Check with your attorneys before you run off and do a bunch of stuff, like always. Meeting in person is scientifically proven to be 16 times as effective at closing a deal versus if you talk to someone over email, Zoom, or LinkedIn. 16 times. In these studies, this is reported by Dr. Robert Cialdini, the most quoted psychologist who talks about anything related to business. And this is related to just a normal transaction, buying a Rolex watch, a vacuum, buying anything. But I would guess if you're getting married or buying a house or investing $500,000, you might want to meet in person a little bit more, right? So for big decisions, it has to be much more than this. And in today's world with AI, you can fake almost anything on a screen. So meeting in person just became way more important this year than it has been in the past. Creating an unfair advantage. We hope that today you're going to come away with 3 or 5 ideas that you write down on page 17 of your workbook that give you a distinct unfair advantage over your former self, over others in your niche that are not using these types of ideas. And the very beginning part of having amazing results and being top 1%, top 0.1%, is really looking at how did someone who sold their business for $60 million get there? How did they scale when others did not? Well, they obviously didn't do the exact same thing as other people. That's obvious. But everyone wants the roadmap of like what they did. But now time has gone on, and if you try to use that roadmap, it wouldn't work as well because now that's been done. So you can't go out and do what they did. It's not as helpful to study what they did unless you understand why they did it in the context of their point in time, because now time has moved on. And so what's more important is to realize that to do those unique things, they must have thought some unique things in their mind. The mental models drove their unique actions. The unique thoughts in their mind drove the unique actions. It's very obvious. But when you read, like I've read 125 books authored by billionaires, that is one of the top 3 things that comes up. They do things that other people said, that's not possible. Or they literally get laughed at, or people say, that's impossible. You can't catch a rocket. And then one person on the team says, well, if we solve this one problem, maybe we could catch a rocket. And then Elon points to that person and says, you're in charge. Let's figure this out, right? And that comes up on stage at our conferences. We've interviewed over a dozen and a half billionaires on stage. I've interviewed 45 billionaires total for billionaires.com, our website, including Mark Cuban, Tony Robbins, Tim Draper. And they almost all say something related to doing what other people are not doing. So that's what this quick section is going to be on. It's really about having a unique perspective. You know what, Jimmy, the thing isn't working. Go ahead. Okay. So all of these people talk about mental models all the time. Munger says you need to collect 100 of them over time, and we always should be upgrading, tweaking, adjusting, swapping out mental models that no longer serve us. That's critical. One mental model I've learned is that the more you can be class act in how you add value to people and be politely persistent, the better things go. The more that you are super high pressure and try to press people to do something before they know you, it doesn't work. And we're going to have a whole section on sales and capital raising later, and we're going to talk about this, but all of capital raising is basically context. You could have the exact same deal, but if there's no context around it, nobody believes what you put on the piece of paper, where if they got referred to you by someone else, maybe they don't even care what's on the paper because of who they got referred to you by. So it's really important. One theme that's going to close out the day is what I'm starting with here too, to have the most fun year of your life by only doing exciting things that move the needle, and cancel the bad joint ventures, the business divisions that don't make money, the employees that are anchors that you just need to go through and might not be fun, but replace, and remove the things that are 2% of your life and 80% of your stress and problems. That helps. It's helped our business a lot. Some of the people I look up to most focus on health primarily, and I think it's important because if you spend your life just working to get money and that is your mission, you're basically, and because of that, you either drink too much or need to lose 50 pounds or get divorced 7 times or your kids don't talk to you, etc. It could just been bad fortune of events that a lot of that stuff happened. But sometimes I clearly see it's because someone has prioritized money and work over all those other things. And probably none of us want to communicate to our community around us, our employees and our kids, spouses, that in this house we worship money so much we'll die early, have bad health, and ruin other things around us just because we worship money to such a high degree. And being ultra healthy can help you be more ultra wealthy as well. It's not like you're choosing one versus the other. You're going to have more focus, more energy, more grit, more discipline if you're dialed in on your health, and probably be hospitalized and be sick less too. So there's lots of reasons to do this. It doesn't happen with a lot of my ultra wealthy clients. Related to that is a LinkedIn post I put on my LinkedIn newsletter. We launched it 15 months ago, and we have 58,000 subscribers that are free subscribers to our LinkedIn newsletter called Investor Club Edge. We put out 1 or 2 episodes a week. And in there, I have 15 pro athlete documentaries, like the F1 Drive to Survive or Breakpoint on tennis, or The Last Dance, or some mountain climbing ones, or CrossFit World Games where Matt Fraser beats everyone for 5 years straight and then gets bored, so he retires. And all of them come down to the same thing. It's a mental mindset of losing and then coming back, or winning and then making sure that you don't lose that momentum. Because in sports, lots of times you lose 2 or 3 tennis points, then you end up losing the whole match. You lose a couple of races, then you lose your confidence. And so if you take the mindset and the mental models of centimillionaires, decamillionaires, family offices, and their business best practices and combine it with the grit and the discipline and the work ethic of pro athletes and the ultra healthiness of them, you really be kind of unstoppable and better than if you just study family offices who maybe don't have the health side dialed in a lot of the time. In business, you can learn from a lot of different people, and what I find is that a lot of people are learning from New York Times bestseller books. They buy Atomic Habits because everyone's talking about Atomic Habits. It might be a great book, but out of 245 books written by billionaires, I asked in an event with 700 people, how many have read more than 10 billionaire books? Only a few people raised their hand. So I definitely encourage you to learn from people like this first before people who are really good at writing books. Maybe learn from the people who are really good at playing basketball or doing business first, right? So I would just encourage you to become a voracious learner, because that's one of the top 3 things that picked out from billionaires. They suck everything in their niche. They learn everything. They want a huge information advantage, and they can trust their gut. And it's proven that what you take in equals what you put out. So here's the top 10 list of billionaire books I recommend you read out of the 125 I've read. This is printed out in your workbook, so I'm going to blow past this really quick, but it's also at billionaires.com/books. Some of you have seen this at our events before, so I'm not going to spend more than a second on that. Number one thing I want to emphasize related to this is going to tie into later today. And it's that Mark Cuban says, you don't need the biggest network, you don't need all the money in the world, you focus on a high value niche and you read everything on it. No one else wants to do that. And he found that out by working a job at a software company, and the owner of the software company hired him. He read the computer manual on that software, went in there, And everyone who walked in would say, oh yeah, well, that's easy. Just on page 78, it says how to do that. You didn't read the manual? And you realize very quickly that not a single person who bought the software read the manual, and the owner of the software company didn't read the manual either. So he's like, whoa, that's strange. Why wouldn't people want to do that if it's your own business? So he realized that in business, people don't want to read the manual. They don't want to go the extra mile. They don't want to be thorough. They don't want to go all the way through. They want to do things light and bounce around. The Oxford Dictionary had the word of the year last year, and it was brain rot, which is just scrolling on TikTok, Instagram, can't focus on anything, don't get much done, float through the day, working virtually, getting almost nothing done. The other trend is just to be anti-herd, to not be like everybody else. By definition, if you do what everyone else does, you'll be average or trailing the average. So you have to do things that are super unique. Howard Marks says the same thing. He says when markets are not going well, it's when you get good deals. When something is so toxic that people think you're a complete idiot to even talk about investing in that horrible niche, it might be when you get the deal of a decade. It might be when you get something almost for free. Like, oh, you want to invest in office in downtown right now? That's the stupidest idea I've ever heard. And it might be like what someone says, because it's like out of favor, right? And it could be that the herd, I mean, it is the truth that the herd is usually right. If you're looking at Rotten Tomatoes score and you want to go see a movie and everyone says it's horrible, maybe it's horrible. So that's what Bezos says, is that that's the trick. The herd is usually right. That's why people follow it, but you can't always follow the herd. And maybe that deal is bad and it's going to go into bankruptcy and you should not touch it. Maybe it is toxic. But among the toxic is the best deal of a generation, is what Howard Marks says in his book. Good point. All right, so I use this tool. I read this every morning, and it's my monthly, quarterly, annual goals, and then these are my mental model mindsets, right? Only do exciting things. Don't go to any meetings I don't want to go to. You know, focus on the exponential. Put energy into what's working, not what's not working. What I do is more important than how hard I work, but I want to outwork and have more fun at the same time than anyone else running an investor club. So I have all these mental models where I know if I live this way, these things will get done and a lot of unpredictable good things will happen. And then I read it every morning to go out into the world. So when I look at my email inbox, I know what I'm trying to get done. And if something doesn't match up, then I have to not focus on that and really focus on what's most important. So that's how I keep my mental models top of mind. And what you guys focus on will be different than me. But this is something free. I've got a Word document template of this. So if you need it, you can talk to Jennifer on your way out. We can email it to you. And we're happy to share that so you can build your own. I laminate mine, and then I just read it every morning while I'm shaving. And Jeff Hoffman's a billionaire, has spoken at our event twice. And by the way, out of the 1,500 investors who have spoken on stage, all the pro athletes, billionaires, centimillionaires, we have paid speaking fees to exactly 0 of them. Shark from Shark Tank, who's spoken 3 times, Grant Cardone, who usually charges $50K a talk, they've all been paid $0 to speak. They come because we're a community and they want to source deals, meet their peers, get things done. And that's just what keeps the community kind of genuine and unique from others out there. Is there a way to make the clicker always work, or is it always time out? The feed, okay. Maybe we can fix that at the break here. All right, so. We are going to switch things up a little bit here. Both on that computer, okay. Artificial intelligence section. Thank you. Any questions on that first section? On a mental mindset? We go through it quickly because it's not very tactical. Hopefully it's practical. When you hear it, it almost sounds like common sense, but it's not common action to read 100 books authored by billionaires. I've gotten a multiple more value out of reading 100 billionaire books that cost me $8 each or almost free on Audible than I did out of getting my business degree or my MBA multifold. Because I wasn't taught by billionaires at school. I was taught by professors who 20% of them had real world experience and the rest had us memorizing macroeconomic policies and terms, right? So for me, it's a big difference between the two. And it relates exactly to what we're going to talk about here. So artificial intelligence, there's going to be 80 to 300 million people that lose their jobs pretty soon to AI. No one really knows what's going to happen with those people. We're going to have to come up with a solution. So there's good and bad. The CEO of NVIDIA says it's not AI that's going to replace you. It's a human being plus AI or your competition using AI. Mark Cuban said last week that either you have a company using AI, so you're stable or growing, or you're decaying or going out of business because you're ignoring AI. That shows how important it is. Michael Scott's here in the room. We got a picture of him here. He said that capital has been like electricity for his business when he spoke at our AI mastermind, and that AI is similar. If you can plug into capital, you grow faster. If you can plug into AI, you grow faster. And we're going to show many case studies on how you can do that in just a second. Chris Sacca from Silicon Valley says that if you look backwards, you can see historically AI growing very quickly. It's obvious to everybody. But if you could look forward, what you can't see is that there's a wall right in front of our face, and nothing has ever been invested in so heavily, so quickly, and is dramatically changing things so rapidly. The internet took 7 years to get to 100 million. GPT took 60 days to hit 100 million. So exponential is hard for the brain to conceive, but you cannot overinvest your time in using AI. That's basically the way I understand it. So 70% of business owners and founders I've seen in surveys use LLMs, which is like ChatGPT and Grok. Those are the two most popular I've seen. I've used all of them on the screen here. And so this is stage one of using AI. Pretty much everyone has done this. I'm not going to bore you to death going through that. Stage two is there are 70,000 companies out there that offer AI solutions. But how many people have tried all 70,000? Nobody, because there's just too many, right? How many are built for our industry? Very, very few. And how many are built for not just raising capital or investing, but the type of investments you like to do? Almost none at all. And so the stage two is using vertical tools, but a lot of these are beta mode or not really built for you. And so stage three is really using AI tools that are built only for you, or they are literally built by you for your exact use studies. And that is where software is going. Well, a lot of people will lose their jobs. There's going to be a boom of software programming needs and software solutions, because now it can be customized down to the sub-niches within different industries. It's not just a senior living CRM. It's a whole suite of AI tools, not just for senior living, but just for memory care, or just for some sub-niche within memory care. That's how dialed in all the custom tools will be. So about 6 weeks ago, we had 5 AI tools. Today, we have 22 different artificial intelligence tools you get through our investor club. I think 17 of the 22, every member of our investor club gets those 17 AI tools, and they're within your member portal. You just go in there, there's an AI module. If you're a VIP member, you get all of our data tools as well. But I'm going to go through some of them that are exciting. One that we just launched this week, we just got out about 36 hours ago, is called Deal Structure Ninja. And it has a deep database of 1,000 investors who have spoken on stage at our events about deal structuring, putting deals together, co-GP deals, et cetera. Then we have 1,000 different deal structure types and variations within the tool. And then what you do is you say, this is the deal I'm negotiating. Here's the counterparty. Here's what I'm trying to solve for. Here's my preference to get the highest valuation or preserve equity or protect cash flow. Here's what I'm worried the other counterparty is going to say. Here's my pitch deck for context. Design 10 deal structures for me that might work. It produces it. You say, I like number 2 and 4. Give me 10 more that look like 2 and 4. It designs 10 more. You do that as many times as you want. They say, I like number 6. Just tweak this and show me a couple of variations of that. Okay, great. That's good. And then the tool says to you, would you like me to write the email to your attorney and the counterparty saying why everybody should agree to this deal and it's a well-balanced deal? And you can do that whole thing in about 4 minutes. No attorney on planet Earth can look at 1,000 deal structures, listen to you, scan your pitch deck, and then spit out 10 deal options in 10 seconds at 2 a.m. on a Saturday. Nobody. And that's one of the 22 tools that we've developed. And honestly, that tool can change your life and is worth more than the whole cost of membership. If you never come to one of our events again and you just use that tool, then that's what's exciting about AI. So we have 4 types of tools. I'm not going to go through all of them because it'll take too long. We've got a guest speaker coming up here in 10 minutes or so. But this first one's pretty exciting. Investor Pipeline Builder is basically, if you've been a member for a long time, you know we have these Excel databases of investors, like 20 different types of them. And if you put them all together, there's 22,000 investors in there. But if you send emails to thousands of people, you're going to get spam listed and not get a great response. They should be used to build a relationship. And also, it doesn't make sense to approach everybody. So if you took time, you could read the bios of all 22,000 people, but what if you could just upload your pitch deck or hit record at the audio button and say, from Austin, Texas, I'm invested in healthcare startups. who should I talk to out of the 22,000 people? It'll go through and read the bios of everybody and tell you, these people are in your backyard. You should meet with them in Texas. These people invest in healthcare. Here's a healthcare investor club you should consider. And it will tell you the 1 or 2% out of the 22,000 you should actually spend time approaching. And it'll do all that in 10 seconds versus you going through and sorting by Texas, sorting by the next state you travel to, Control F searching in Excel for healthcare or health, right? Or medical. It's an obnoxious process, right? And that's what we've had to do for the last 18 years until now. So these other tools are pretty intuitive once you get what I'm saying, that like if you're going to a conference in New York, you can tell the tool, hey, I'm flying to New York tomorrow. Is there anyone in New York that might be really interested in X, Y, or Z? And it will let you know who's in New York that's interested in those things. So let's say you want to do something exponential and just work with other investor clubs. We have a lot of investor clubs that come speak at our event. We have one today speaking here. And Investor Club Navigator allows you to say, I'm based here, this is what I'm looking for, and it'll look at 550 investor clubs that we have deep data on, and it will tell you the top 7 that you should probably approach and work with. And if you just create relationships with one of those and get through their screening process, it could unlock 100 or 1,000 investors, so it could be really exponential. This next set is there any questions here before we go to the next slide? Or on the Deal Structure Ninja tool? Yes.
On any practical uses of these particular tools. Obviously it looks very powerful. People are always trying to find the right lead flow, so to speak. Right.
Practical uses for it. I would say that because meeting in person is so powerful and everyone gets so many messages per day, the most practical use is anytime you book a plane ticket to go anywhere, then use the tool to set up a couple extra meetings, right? And approach them on how you can add value to them first. I think that's probably the most powerful. So Investor Pipeline Builder has all the databases, but maybe you're just looking for smaller check writers right now. Then you could use accredited investor lead navigator, or you only want to talk to family offices, not investor clubs, not accredited investors so much. Then you can just use Family Office Finder. So if you have the VIP membership, you have access to all the tools. It makes most sense to mostly just use this tool. It's the biggest one. It'll give you diversified results and a mix of different types of investors. But the other tools can allow you to go really niche target. Hope that makes sense. These tools are more due diligence investing tools. Pretend that you hired an analyst and you said, here are 150 white papers on angel investing, private equity, real estate, venture capital, family office, due diligence, best practices, and checklists. Memorize all these, and I'm going to text you night or day to look at PPMs and pitch decks, and in 10 seconds, I want you to reference all those white papers and tell me what are red flags, what are risks, what questions should I be asking, or I'm about to make this investment, I'm very excited about it, but I don't know what I don't know. What should I be asking about this deal before I invest? Here's my due diligence process. Here's what I've done so far. What else should I be asking? Even better is I just got pitched by someone. They want me to go to a meeting with them or get on the phone. Before I do that, I want to ask them some questions. I don't even have time to open up their 60-page pitch deck. What should I ask them? You put up the pitch deck, upload it. It knocks out the questions. You shoot them out over email. If they don't answer your questions, you just save 30 minutes of your life. If they don't answer them well, you save 30 minutes of your life. If they answer them well, you can get more questions before you go to a meeting. So it's super big time saver. If you're raising capital, we always recommend that you have a due diligence questionnaire, 30 questions that every investor should be asking you, but they don't know what to ask you because they don't know storage or healthcare, whatever your niche is, or fintech. So what you can do, upload your pitch deck and say, Dewey, create for me a master due diligence questionnaire. What are the top 30 sharp questions that a sophisticated investor would ask me, and answer the questions using my pitch deck? Get that, copy it into Word, and then you can make the questions the answers a bit more robust. But it can give you initial answers to all those questions, right? Or Dewey, design my data room for me based on my pitch deck. What should go in my data room? Give me a checklist, etc. So I think you get the point. This helps you prepare for due diligence, helps you conduct due diligence. This tool is a instant advisory board. We've programmed in there based on the 1,000+ investors speaking on stage, different personalities, so that when you want advice on something, it gives you multifaceted feedback. So you'll get feedback from a CFO finance nerd brain. You'll get feedback from a billionaire, aggressive, think big brain. You get feedback from a centimillionaire type, a decamillionaire, an angel investor, etc. Also, the head of an investor club who likes deal structures is one of the 7 personalities. And so this way, when you're trying to make a tough decision, you might ask your spouse, your partner, you might need to move quickly. Bezos says it's important to be decisive. Even with 1 million employees, he prides himself on moving quickly. But how do you do that? If you ask ChatGPT, sometimes people see this stuff and are like, well, anybody can ask this stuff to GPT. Like, okay, yeah, but the answers are coming from Wikipedia, a bunch of random blogs, press, political news website facts, and outdated information. If you're okay with all of your answers coming from the 400 million random people who use ChatGPT, who feed it with stuff, not all those people are billionaires, right? Not all those people are investors. Here, the answers are coming from an AI sandbox of wealthy investors, decamillionaires, centimillionaires, billionaires. So the answers are very different than what you'll get otherwise. Most importantly, you can have your board vote on things. So if you say, I'm looking at this, or this, what would you guys vote I should do? Here's the context. Here's an audio message. Here's my pitch deck, so you have some context on it. What do you guys vote? And then they all put in their votes, and you can see, and a couple of them will hash out like an argument in front of you. Any questions on that? Let's see here. This is the last slide. I wanted to mention the Billionaire Collective Intelligence tool. With this one, we've interviewed only 45 billionaires so far. Turns out it's kind of hard, but we're interviewing 100 over time. One thing that we've found, though, is there's 986 public talks by billionaires. So we transcribed all of those and put them in an AI tool. So if you want to get feedback from billionaires, ask a question, record an audio message, whatever it may be. And then it'll give you answers, and each answer will be supported by an exact quote from an exact billionaire with their names. You can see who you're getting the advice from. So it's instant. We've had this one out for a while, so some of you have used it, I know. But just wanted to share that as well. So any questions on any of these AI tools? I know it's like a ton. We could probably spend like the whole day just on AI stuff. I'm sure we'll do another AI mastermind sometime. Yes?
Yeah, so we all know with AI, the one major factor of AI are prompts.
Right.
All the prompts that you rattled off actually quite well. I'm going to guess that they're in there.
Right. So a major factor are the prompts, and are the prompts in there? Yeah. So behind the scenes, there is like a 1-page or page-and-a-half Word document of prompts and processes to first ask this, look for this, clarify this, don't hallucinate, don't use outside data, look for this. And then what we do is embedded it with everything we've learned running our investor club. So when you use Investor Pipeline Builder, it will tell you, remember, these are not best friends of Family Office Club. These are, if you spent 2,000 hours on Google, you could find that these investors exist on planet Earth. So when you approach them, don't say, oh, I saw you're a fellow member of Family Office Club, because some might be, but a lot are not. And I also put in there, like, make sure you add value first, be concise, use our other AI tools so that your messaging actually gets a response, because no one owes you a response. So the cool thing is with these tools is that we've embedded everything we've learned while running our investor club, and then that makes the prompts more rich and robust and useful. And so I think that's super important, because otherwise, you get the wrong idea of like how to use some of the tools. And we made them super intuitive. So here you can see some prompts. So in each tool, you go there, and it's so simple, you don't even need training for it. You can just click on one of the prompts, and it starts working for you. Or you can literally ask it, how do I use this? But it literally is super intuitive as you go. And the cool thing is we used to have to teach what a strategic choke point was. Now we have an AI tool called the Choke Point Coach, and you literally tell it what you're looking for, what your business is, what your bottlenecks are, what's most expensive and causing friction in your business. And it will use its expertise on knowing what choke points are, and then it will suggest choke points for your business and build out like a table for you of potential choke points. So we can skip the whole part of teaching choke points and instead just apply it to what you're doing. Yes, Tracy?
What happens to the material that you upload?
What happens to the material you're uploaded? With all of these, we have unchecked the box that says have conversations feed the master brain of OpenAI. With that said, is Apple, Microsoft, and Google and Gmail scraping every message and listening to my voice right now and putting it into a cloud somewhere? Probably. I don't know. It's big tech, right? So all these companies could be constantly listening when they're not supposed to, or scraping something. But we have unchecked it very carefully with all of them. But how it is how it is, I guess. Yeah. Yes.
Yep, I realized with ChatGPT is it says it will produce an Excel file for you, and then it always like breaks down. Have you ever?
Yeah, it says it'll produce an Excel file and it breaks down. Yeah, I've had some very stern conversations with it about producing PDFs. It's a known thing. Last week they came out with a new AI model, OpenAI did, and then that made all of our tools more robust, and we had an extra option to do more complex calculations within our tools, but we've removed it, suggesting the download of PDF because of it being frustrating on that. It just makes us look like we made a mistake when it's GPT telling us it can do it and then it doesn't, and then apologizes, but then still doesn't do it. So it's like old Willy Wonka movie of telling the machine exactly what it should do, right? So hopefully it'll get better. I'm sure it will, because I'm sure they hear those complaints. Yeah. Any other questions on this? If anyone is not sure how to use this or wants to find out like how powerful some of the tools could be for your specific use case, then just let me know. And I'm happy to chat when the event is over and say, oh, I'd recommend these 3 tools, these 2 tools. Like one of them is the capital raising email analyzer. And you just share the email you were just about to send to an investor, and it analyzes it based on 20 different criteria, helps you make it more concise, tells you what it would fix, and then rewrites the email for you to be like ultra concise so you get a better response rate. Another one grades your pitch deck in 25 different ways. And then the other one that's been one of our favorites that we've used hundreds of times is upload your pitch deck. It'll analyze it, and based on 25 criteria, come out with 7 one-liners that summarize your whole offering with 3 credible numbers in 1 sentence that hits people between the eyes with something unique. And then you can use that in all of your materials. And the cool thing is it comes out with 7 options, and you say, I don't like any of those. Do better and focus on this. And they give you 7 more, and you say, I like number 6. Give me 7 more that look like number 6. And you just do that, and in 5 minutes, you've got like an amazing one-liner, usually. Yes, in the back.
This is kind of a crazy question, and I think I already know the answer.
Good.
But I'd ask anyway, have you attempted to quantify the success or the improvement of your tools versus, quote unquote, the market or other tools out there? Are there any statistics? And I believe what you're saying, and intuitively makes sense. I'm just wondering if you have any quantification data that shows that your tools produce more successful pitches or more successful engagement.
Right. We don't have any statistics that the tools produce more successful engagement, but like this morning I got a text message where someone used the deal structure ninja, and their immediate reaction was, holy shoot, can't believe what it just did for me. Like, I can't believe how helpful that was. And we get that type of response fairly often with 3 or 4 of the tools. You like immediately are like, oh my God, it's so much better, and that was immediate. The Dewey tool has gotten amazing feedback. We've had many investors say it saved them 10 plus hours of time in the last month or 2. So when we see those reactions, we want to build more tools. Like, our goal is to have that reaction with every single tool we build. I think probably only 7 or 8 of them have gotten that reaction so far. But I don't think, like when we're going to talk about competitive moats later, I think our moat is that we've had our investor databases for 15 years. We ran our events and been around for 18 years, and there's no other investor club in the world that runs live events, has investor data, and has a library of AI tools. So I don't think there is like a head-to-head, but on each individual tool, there's other options out there in the AI world for sure, but the suite of them make it a bit unique. Yes?
So most of these tools, is that included in the charter membership, or is that?
Yeah, they're all included with charter membership, so we're not upselling, we're just basically saying like, yeah, thanks for being a member. Here's another tool that we made this month. And then all the core tools are available to all members. And then the data-driven tools require either purchasing that individual database or having the VIP membership, because that includes all the data. Yeah, so we try to make it simple because there are a lot of tools, and we're creating like a guide, like library of the tools as it gets more complex. And one of the tools is called Family Office Club Concierge. The whole point of this tool is you just say what you're doing or upload your pitch deck, and it says, okay, based on the 1,200 videos, just look at these discussion panels. Here's 30 different investor mandates relevant to your area. Here's the AI tools you should probably use. And it's a little bit like, it's a concierge guide to not being overwhelmed by a ridiculous amount of content. Because like a lot of people join and they don't realize in the portal, in the mobile app, we have 100 talks from people that have raised 100 million or more that are just 10 minutes long each. If you just watch those, it's amazing value, but I don't think anybody watches them, right? There's just too much stuff in there. So that's to try to solve it. Yeah, Michael.
Quick comment on how powerful this is, right? So when I speak about what I did in 2017, I took a year and I read about 15 books from billionaires. And I took that information, that synthesis of information, and then I grabbed a first market advantage on an emerging industry. And what I'll tell you is what Richard is doing right now, you could equate it to when civilization first figured out what electricity was, and there was two types of entrepreneurs. The one that said, I'm going to figure out how to use electricity and do what I'm doing at scale and mass. And then there was the entrepreneur that said, I'm just going to keep doing what I've been doing because that's dangerous. I'm going to work with my horse and buggy. What I'll tell you is we know how that story plays out. Richard is literally, and he didn't pay me to say this, I fully believe it, he's at the absolute cutting edge of his industry and learning how to utilize electricity in the family office / private investment world. And these tools, in a matter of minutes, can pump out more valuable information that took me a year. I took a sabbatical for a year and literally just studied billionaires for a year. And I took that to give me an advantage in an emerging industry. What you're getting with these talks, this is an ecosystem where you can plug in and get the output of nothing but highly successful investors and entrepreneurs. You're getting the answer directly from them. Your alternative is to use ChatGPT, just grabbing this information from the universe. Would you rather have the direct go-to from 100 billionaires or a bunch of highly successful private investors and get that synthesis and output? Richard is at the apex of that. It is absolutely incredible. And I'm just pumped to be just in that circle.
Cool. Thanks, Michael. Yes, Michael's comment was like he took a year sabbatical to read all these billionaire books, and some of these tools can cut through a lot of information instantly and provide a lot of value. And it's kind of like a cutting edge of using AI in a practical way. Sometimes there's these tools that make these huge promises, and the whole company is built and $30 million raised over this big promise of one tool, and it kind of works, and it's really painful to put into place, and then cold emails go out that kind of make people hit spam or just don't look real, right? And like, this is not that. We raised $0 for this. I built every single tool myself. I prompted every single line, and when I found out this morning that there was a spelling error on one, I fixed it this morning right before we started. And when the networking tool that was on your welcome email this morning broke at our event earlier this week, we found out why. So when you use the AI networking tool we built for today, if you didn't see it in your welcome email, it's called Investor Club Radar. You click on that, make sure you strictly follow the prompt suggestions on that one. You usually don't have to. With this one, you do have to strictly follow the prompt suggestion boxes that you see here. And if you follow that, then it works, it doesn't break, doesn't hallucinate, and it tells you out of everybody coming to the event today, here's the top 15 people we think you should meet with. But for Jimmy to have to do that and go through everybody's bio, it'd be like impossible, right? So that's the way to listen to all this is not like is to think to yourself, how do you be a level 3 CEO and you do this for your little niche of cannabis biotechnology or medical devices or senior living or whatever. So like benefit what we've been doing, but every time I put out a new tool, I'll be like, well, what's a version of that I should be doing for my niche? Or like maybe I should be, how do I build my own tool, or just suggest to us what you'd like to see from us, because we want to be the number one investor club tool set, in the world, and we call this investor super intelligence. And our goal is to eventually have such a suite of tools that when you plug into it, you're literally feel like you're super intelligent compared to if you were not plugged into it. That's kind of our goal. Yes.
Which underlying model are they using?
Which underlying model? They're using OpenAI's model, and what I found is that it by default uses the same base model that GPT uses for pro users. So we pay the pro $200 a month, but I think the custom GPTs by default use that most current model, which changed just like 6 or 7 days ago, I think. Yes?
Do these customized tools have any overlap with just a regular GPT, like if I just went to straight ChatGPT?
Yeah, great question. So do these tools have a regular overlap with normal GPT? Some of them have zero overlap. Some of them I would say would have a 20% overlap, because what will happen is it primarily or exclusively only references answers from the 986 billionaire talks. If the answers cannot be found in there, then we've either instructed it to backfill extra helpful case studies from the normal GPT, or to strictly do not refer to any other opinions. We only want the answers to come from billionaires. For the databases, we instructed to do things like have this percentage be local, this percentage be investor clubs, this percentage be single family offices, this percentage accredited investors, but strictly only come from the sandbox we uploaded. Yeah. Yes, Matt.
One comment, just for the terminology, what you mean with whether you use AI or not, you mean whether you use specific AI tools. Because AI, you cannot avoid AI nowadays. It's so integrated, most programs you're using. Even if you just go to a doctor's office,
Right.
the thin sections through the tissues are analyzed by AI, which is 100 to 1,000-fold more sensitive than the human eye. And the other thing is that AI also hallucinates. So you also have to, it makes mistakes. Like a figure might have 3 legs or so,
Right.
or 2 left legs or whatever. So you also always have to check what you're
Right.
you're finding.
Right. Yeah, definitely the AI can hallucinate and make mistakes. So do human beings. So the good news is it knows a lot more and can move instantly, but definitely always check with a real attorney, always check with a real accountant. Like, it's not to replace what your professional service providers would do, to make you more decisive, more thorough, more effective, but not to blindly trust it and never, there's always risk to a deal. Anything that's going to be any consequence of money, more than $1,000, $5, $10, $20,000, like use real everyone along the way, obviously, right? Just to be careful.
Also could be abused by criminals. So
Yeah.
also actually.
Right. Or it could be abused by criminals. Yeah. I mean, Europe likes to lead the way on lots of laws, and I think California is number 2. So you can watch them, and I'm sure more will be coming out. Yes.
Let's go down a rabbit hole.
Okay.
It begins to sound a little elitist when you start talking about billionaire information.
Right.
So for the bootstrapper,
Yeah.
does the billionaire go back to before they became a billionaire and translate that into language?
It's my favorite question of the day so far. So it sounds elitist, and you're like, billionaires. It's like, it's so far in. Is that really going to be helpful to a bootstrapper? Well, there's only one of the 23 tools. So if you start to feel that way, you could use the Investor Advantage tool, which is all 1,500 talks from investors on stage, which include angel investors, private investors, decamillionaires, et cetera. Also, some of them do, some of them don't, right? Some you might relate to, some not. That's why we quote who it's coming from. But also, when I started this business, I had less money in my bank account than I had due for rent that month. And everything I've learned is from studying family offices. And investors are usually just founders who learned how to make $500,000, $250,000, $1 million in profit or more a year, or had an exit of 7, 8, 9 figures. And everything I've learned is just from studying, the ultra wealthy who are the winners in the game of business, and then just adapting that. And I've bootstrapped everything. We have no partners, we have no investors, we have no debt in our business. It's just ground up organic growth, the very slow 18-year painful way. Probably would be a lot wealthier if I, raised capital at the beginning and actually shot it up fast.